everybody, Mrs. Heisey here. Well, today I am going to demonstrate to you how to do a rotational molding. So we need our ovens that we have right behind us. Rotational molding is basically taking a powder polyethylene and you are going to add heat or place it in a mold, add heat to it, rotate it around in an oven, and you will come out with a hollow plastic part. So to begin, you'll have your directions with you. In your packet, it tells you to lay out all of your materials. You're going to need to grab whatever type or color of powder that you would like to use. You're going to grab the mold that you will use. Now, inside of this classroom, the molds are located right underneath the very big oven. Okay? The pigments or the coloring will be in the top one. The second one is where there's a box full of all different types of molds. And then down on the bottom, there's the rotational plates that look like this. There's 4 of them. All right? So we're going to go ahead and lay that stuff out. I'm going to go ahead and let's go with a red. We'll do a red baseball. All right, so I have my mold right here. Okay, now we need to make sure we have our nuts and bolts to hold our molds together. So inside of this container, there's a whole bunch of different nuts and bolts that you can use that'll keep your mold together. All right, and we have our oven plates. First thing you want to do, turn on the oven. So when you come in here, you're going to turn the oven on. Set it to 500 degrees. You need to let that oven get warm, otherwise it will take your mold longer to actually be created. Next, we're going to go ahead and start prepping our mold for everything. We're just going to grab, we have some mold release in a spray can right here. So you just open this up. You're going to take your mold, shake up the can, spray on the inside, get a good coat on the inside there. Same thing with the other side. It's just a mold release to help your mold pop out easier at the very end. So I have that. Next, it says we need to fill our mold. Now, we have 2 parts to our mold here. We're just going to take one of them and fill that 3/4 of the way, okay? 3/4 of the way full. So I'm just going to take this and do this over top. All right, shake it out. If you get a little bit on the edges, just push it to the inside. So there we go. I have my mold 3/4 of the way full, and I'm going to take my other one and place it on top of here. Now, you need to make sure that your molds get a good seal on here. So certain molds have one way that they will connect together. An example for this one, it's a baseball. It looks similar, but if you notice along the side, there's a little red paint. You want to make sure that your molds always line up, and then you're just simply going to grab out one of the bolts, place it through. You're going to grab a nut. Now you want to put these on here fairly tight, all right? But you want to be able to get them off as well. So just get them on there as snug as you can. And if you need to grab a wrench or a pair of pliers or something like that to help get them a little bit tighter, feel free to make sure that you grab that. I'm just going to just tighten it up a little bit. And I'm going to double check to make sure I have these on here nice and tight. And what I do is I just kind of shake it and see if any little plastic is falling out over top of the table, which it is not, okay? So this way it doesn't leak into the side of the oven. All right, now with our plate, you're basically just going to secure your mold on the base plate, okay, like so. Take them and place this underneath here. Might have to take off both of them. Just loosen it up. Place the mold under there. And then I'm going to secure it down so it doesn't fall off this plate when I put it in the oven. Now, if there's only one person doing this, you're going to have to create like a dummy mold. Just grab an empty mold. You don't have to fill it or anything like that, and you would put it on another plate just to countersink the weight inside of the oven. If it's not evenly weighted, then it will not rotate for you, and your project will not turn out. All right, so almost done here. Make sure my mold is nice and secure. Again, do not want to have that fall out. Okay, so we're gonna have to place this inside the oven. You're gonna notice on the plate that there is one part that has a little cotter pin to it. You'll need to take this out, and then when we place it inside of the oven, we'll secure it in there with that. If it's not secure, it's going to fall and it will not work. So please make sure that you have it nice and snug on here. So now I have both of my things. All right, inside of my oven, it's going to be hot. It's 500 degrees, okay? There are oven mitts over here, but when you're putting your mold in for the very first time, as long as you're extremely careful, you don't have to wear the gloves. All right, I'm gonna put my hair back just to be safe. Safety glasses on. All right, open this up. And now as I open it up, it's going to be letting the heat out. That's okay, but I'm just gonna rotate my molds so I can make sure to line the mold. I'm gonna clip it there. And if you need help with this step, please come and see me. Need to rotate that a little bit more inside of there. Get that cotter pin at the top so it's easier. There we go. All right. All right, so once you have one in the oven, then you're gonna go ahead and make sure you grab your second one, place that inside of there. And again, you're gonna put your pin in. Okay, so hopefully you should be able to see as it's rotating around inside of the oven, like that. We're gonna go ahead and close our doors. Now, according to your directions, you're gonna wanna let these molds be in there for about 20 to 30 minutes. If you let it fully heat up to the 500 degrees, then 20 minutes, should be good enough. If not, if you got it in there because you were super quick, then you're probably gonna wanna go 25 to 30 minutes, depending upon how much time is left in class. So now we're just gonna wait, and in a few moments, we'll go ahead and pull those molds out. All right, now that our time has passed, we can go ahead and open our oven. So to do that, I'm just going to end up turning off the motor. I'm going to open up the oven door. Be careful, it's gonna be very hot as it kind of comes out on you. You're gonna wanna grab some oven mitts so you don't burn your hands, and you'll just pull out that cotter pin, grab your mold, set it on a little hot plate. Let me turn this around. Grab my other mold out. Set it on the hot plate. Close up the oven. Make sure when you take your molds out that you turn the oven off, okay? You want to do that. Now, these have been in the oven for 20 minutes, if not maybe a little bit longer. They're extremely hot. Do not grab with your hands. You can do two things to cool them down. One, you can just let the air take over and it cool naturally, or you can take it up to the sink in the front of the classroom and run it under some cold water, all right? All right, now that I've taken my mold to the front of the classroom and I ran it under some cold water, it is ready to take out of the mold. So you're simply going to take out the nuts and bolts, place them back inside the container. Now, if you do not run it under cold water, you need to give it a few moments, or I should say, I would say a good 10 minutes or so, for the plastic that was just inside of the oven that was melted to solidify. So you have to give it some time. If you pull it right out of the oven and try and take the mold apart, it's going to end up pulling your plastic. The powder inside needs to harden, okay? So I'm just basically gonna take this. If you have a difficult time trying to get your mold apart, then I have a little scraper inside of here. You can try and pry it apart, but otherwise you're just going to open it up and voila, here's our baseball. You're gonna notice that there's probably a little bit of flashing on the edges. The next thing that you would do is you would just grab like a razor blade or box cutter out of the closet, and you just simply go around your edges and trim off any of that flashing that you have on there. All right, it's fairly simple. If you need to get a little sandpaper to smooth everything out, see the teacher, and I can get that for you. So voila, when you are done with your mold, make sure you put everything back away where it belongs. All right, things go back down into the locker. You can turn your project in for a final grade. If you have any questions, just make sure to ask.